Good morning.
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 Oh, what? We have a special guest again.
Yeah, we're privileged. Like someone decided to hang out with us, which is always strange.
Twice in a row. That's a record.
Yeah, you guys are fun to hang out with. What are you talking about?
Yeah, okay, that's nice.
All right, so Melissa, you want to reintroduce yourself for people that may have forgotten since last time?
Yep. I am Melissa with the SJW Comic Book Club. We are a weekly book club style podcast with three friends, me and my friends Monte and Veronica, where we discuss a story arc in comics from a literary and progressive point of view. So
what are you working on? What are you working on right now?
We are on our season 10, so we've got Femme Fatale's theme that Monte has, and then we have a redemption arc that Veronica has. She's picked 4 comics, the characters of comics we didn't like before, so we're trying to redeem the characters, see if we like them now with maybe potentially a better written comic. And then
hopefully the writers redeem them. Right?
Exactly, yeah. Like, did we not like the characters, or did we just not like the story? That was basically the premise of it. And then Femme Fatales, obviously. Who doesn't love a good Femme Fatale story, so...
Everybody loves a femme fatale. And there's lots of femme fatales in the comics. There's tons of them.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I think it's a fantasy for guys who read comics. You know,
well,
to get killed or hurt by a strong woman. That's kind of what
they want. There's been a few of those, yeah.
Yeah. That's just what that's their daydream.
Exactly.
So we're doing WandaVision. We're going to finish WandaVision today.
That's right.
Pretty ambitious, but we got it. We got five episodes to cover, but we can do it. No problem.
Kind of split our podcast up at the twist, right? So
yes,
the first part of the podcast was when all of the episodes were basically doing homages to early TV sitcoms, and now these last 5 are where we like pull back the curtain and reveal what's really going on.
Yep. So we ended up on episode 4, or are we starting on episode 5?
5.
We're starting on episode 5.
All right, yeah. So it's
on a very special episode.
Yeah. So this is where we get to see a lot more of the kids, and they're starting to like do their thing a little bit, which I think is interesting. I got some information about the kids. William and Tommy, Billy and Tommy. That's what they're named in the show, and that's what they're named in the comics. I put this in the show notes that if anybody wants to read the comic, it's called The Children's Crusade. Melissa, did you guys read that?
I don't think so, no.
Yeah. So there's actually a really interesting... It's like apparently Tommy and Billy just randomly, individually joined a group called the Young Avengers, but they didn't know they were brothers, and they didn't know they were related to Wanda Maximoff, but a series of events occurred to reveal that. And it's a very touching image. I'm going to post it into the... I don't know where to post it. Let's post it into the Discord. I think you can see it. And I just want to show you guys real quick, if you guys see that image. It's pretty touching. It's like it shows Wiccan getting hugged by the Scarlet Witch. Apparently, like, it's very sweet. And like, I kind of want to read the story now just to see how they worked it out. But to remind our listeners, in the comics, Wanda cast a spell on herself to have these children, but eventually they went away because they're spells. But I guess it's the same thing in the show. She cast a spell and she had some kids. So there you go. So it's kind of precarious. Like you're worried about these children's lives because, of course, like I guess they're real, but also not real, and so their fates are kind of. I think hopefully if you're watching the show, you're very curious about what's going to happen to them.
Yeah, everything within the hex is real. So she must have converted energy into matter to create these 2 kids.
Yeah, which is incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't create 2 children for myself. that doesn't sound fun at all. Right. But she does. And curious,
I did, so I can relate.
Yeah. Okay. Wait, what? Yeah, I guess she did
2 children.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
It was a lot of work on my wife's part, but
Yeah, I think she did most of the work, Mike.
Yeah.
I think she did pretty much 99% of it.
Right. Absolutely. More than that.
Yeah. But then we get some interesting other things going on, mostly with Sword. I guess I don't know if I'm rushing too far ahead, but the drone sequence when they ended up getting the drone in there. Did you guys understand how that worked? How they got the drone in there?
No.
The one that's old. that she didn't have to change. So in theory, like she wouldn't notice when you put something that's of the time period. So she doesn't have to convert the matter, like with Monica's outfit. Because we talk about how she was wearing like a bulletproof vest at one point, and then it turned like all of her outfits probably were made out of this like Kevlar material. So I'm assuming it was like a sneaky sneak. She wouldn't notice. I don't know. There's a lot of things that Wanda doesn't notice, but
well, she's got it's a massive illusion. It's a lot of work. So true. she's going to miss something. But she definitely noticed that when the drone's armed and it's got to kill her.
Oh, for sure.
And like in the comics and in the show, I hope the Marvel Cinematic Universe doesn't keep casting Wanda as a villain. There's some rumors that she's going to be a villain in the Doctor Strange movie coming up. Hopefully that's not true because I just like the character.
Could be, but it doesn't seem like it based on the teasers or trailers we've seen so far.
They manipulate those trailers so bad. We have no idea what that movie's about. None. Yep. But here's like the go-to move for Sword is we need to kill Wanda. She's too powerful, just kill her. But like we don't see them doing those actions for any other character. I get like you don't see them doing that for any other people that are super. I guess we don't see them, but it's just kind of it's not a knee jerk. Is it killing someone a knee jerk reaction? Yeah.
It does seem a bit extreme. Definitely in like these earlier episodes where like, why are we all of a sudden trying to murder her? Like, yes, she's not doing something good. One could say it's terrible and she definitely needs to be stopped. But yeah, just immediately jumping to just boom, wipe her out. It's suspicious, at least.
It's also odd that they're not worried about what would happen to the people in there. Like you have no idea what's going to happen to them if she dies,
Shoot first, ask questions later.
Yeah, I guess that is. But my favorite part of that episode is when Wanda comes out of the dome dragging the drone. Like,
right.
Dude, Elizabeth Olsen just eats that scene up, just consumes the whole thing. It's so good. Like, you would think that someone couldn't, pull off, like, I'm a maniac, someone with some mental issues and I have superpowers. And I'm really angry right now, but she definitely nails it. It's really good. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but there's a scene, that scene when she's like confronting the sword agents. She like throws a hex at them, but she does it in such a very like a crazy flourish. Like she does like a twist with her hand and her body, and then it's like flicks it behind her. It's like I always look at that. I'm like, that's cool looking. Like I don't know why when I see her do that, but I just keep thinking that's like a really cool thing for the directors and for Elizabeth Olsen and everybody just to do. It's like it seems kind of flashy. Like if I was going to cast a spell, I would want to do it so casual like that too. I don't know. It's just weird.
Yeah, I liked how all the soldiers like snapped their aim to the head of Sword like all at once.
Yeah.
That was great.
I think if we know anything about Wanda is that she's just a little bit extra.
Just a tad,
just like a little bit.
Like most people would go shopping, or they would like, get a divorce, or they would buy a new car when they're having like an existential crisis. But she like creates an alternate reality, like with her power. It's just like, that's funny. Yeah, that's true. She is a bit extra, which is good. But that episode, if I'm not mistaken, that episode is when we get to see the first scene of the White Vision, right? We get to realize that they rebuilt Vision.
Mm-hmm.
You guys have any knowledge of the? Okay,
is that in this episode? I think that's later. I'm looking.
I might be wrong.
Yeah. I think that's a couple of episodes from now.
Okay, did I jump ahead? Okay, I'll stop.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
We do get Wanda and Vision fighting.
Yeah, and then we get Pietro. So Melissa and I were trying to go back and forth. Mike, how do you pronounce it? Pietro, but
it took a long time. I was like, why is this guy's name Pedro if he's from Sokovia? Because that's what I thought people were saying, and so I just looked it up, and it's Pietro. You have to roll the R. Okay. So Vision's trying to say, hey, you're doing some crazy stuff, and Wanda, it looks like they're about to start the fight, which would be kind of cool. But then a knock at the door, and it ends up being Pietro, which is Quicksilver from the comics. He died in Avengers Age of Ultron. Okay, there's a lot going on. So let's try to piece it together.
in Avengers: Age of Ultron, Pietro was played by who? Who's the actor who played him? You guys know?
I recognize him and I can visualize him perfectly. I do not know his name.
I forget too.
He looks good though in that movie. I'll just say that.
What? Physically good?
Yeah, it looks great.
Is it cute?
Yeah, he's nice.
Really?
Jarvis, does he rank up there with your like most?
No, absolutely not. Right. It's like that's not cute. I remember the guy barely, but what's his name? I feel bad because he was in other things too, and I liked him. He was in Godzilla, which I really liked.
Okay.
Oh, it's gonna jump. Hang on, I got the cast up right here.
Okay. In this show, it's Evan Peters playing
Aaron
Pietro.
Taylor Johnson.
Yes, that's his name. Yes, he's a really good actor. So he was killed off in Age of Ultron. He was killed, and the actor doesn't have a contract, so he's not going to do any more movies, and he's not going to do any more Marvel stuff. So they make WandaVision, and and you probably think, they're going to bring the actual Quicksilver Pietro back that they have before. But it ends up being another actor, which is, what's his name, Mike?
Evan Peters.
Yeah. Evan Peters played Pietro, played Quicksilver in the Fox X-Men movies, which is a different cinematic universe. So, obviously, when people saw that Pietro from the X-Men movies open the door, everybody flipped out, completely lost all their minds because they thought, and with good reason, that Marvel was bringing the X-Men into the Marvel Cinematic Universe using this show. Like, this show was going to open the door for the X-Men to return, to come back into and this is a proof of concept. Look at this guy. He's an X-Men. He was in the Fox movies. He's definitely Quicksilver. This is a new thing they're going to do. It's going to be great. This is going to open all kinds of doors. It didn't happen, though. Like, they didn't do that.
Doesn't it actually end up closing that door?
It slams it pretty hard shut, and that's going to happen in a couple at the final episode. Yeah. But I don't. Here's my question, and you guys can both address it. Let's act like we're just seeing this for the first time. Did Marvel do this to kind of make us super excited and to get us kind of hyped, or did they plan to do something and then they scrapped it? That's the key question. So there's two options for them. They did it knowing that it was just going to get us hyped, but it was going to be like, I guess a red herring would work. Because they knew they weren't going to bring the X-Men using this venue. Or were they going to do it and then they changed their minds? So, Melissa, what do you think?
I think it's really interesting to almost bring the X-Men in, specifically because Wanda is not a mutant in this universe. So it could be that it was just a nod, but then it almost kind of took a life of its own once the fans saw it. Probably, I guess. I don't know. I feel like maybe they didn't intend it, but then I think it works pretty well within the confines of the story. Assuming we haven't seen the rest of the episodes, but also knowing we've seen the rest of the episodes, I don't know. It feels like it was supposed to be confined within the story.
Yeah, it just feels so. It feels mean to do what they did because it's like
I agree.
It just feels, because like, oh my God, they're going to bring the X-Men, and like Marvel's like, we're not going to do that, but they're going to think we're going to do it, so it's fine. And like, they didn't have to bring that actor; they could have used any number of actors, but using that specific actor plants a flag that's hard to ignore and hard not to get excited about. So I think it almost ruined the show. I really did. I think it almost completely makes the show collapse towards the end. But it is what it is. And in the next episode, he has super speed, right? Who gave him that? Anyway, we'll get to that.
I mean, yeah, I think they just thought it was something fun to do.
Yeah.
Really. And they did it,
Well, Marvel has always been very good about hyping up stuff. So
yeah,
it definitely, yeah. I understand the confusion and then the ultimate frustration.
It just seems so. It's like it's very meta too. It's like it's a joke that you would only know if you've watched a lot of these movies, if you watch the X-Men, if you're watching this, if you read the comics. So it's messing with a very specific group of people's heads. If you're like Mike, you have no idea what they're doing, right, Mike?
Right. Yeah. The only reason I know it's not the same actor from the Ultron movie is because
you watched it.
Darcy Lewis says she recast Pietro.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah.
I don't know. If I was in the writers' room and they were planning to do that, I'd be like, I quit. I can't be a part of this tragedy. I wouldn't quit, but I'm threatening to quit.
Right.
I'm not going to quit. But it's just, I don't know. Anyway.
I gotta harp on all of these ads in each episode.
Go for it.
This one is a Lagos paper towel ad.
Mm-hmm.
I loved that ad.
Okay, can you tell me about it? Because I don't get any connection to anything.
It feels so demented watching it, because obviously it's basically just a paper towel ad where you see someone wiping something up with a paper towel to show how absorbent or whatever that paper towel is. But instead, the actors look the most strained that they have looked so far, and they keep just like repetitively not very well wiping things up with the paper towel. So it's not even like a good ad, because you see like water splashing everywhere, like they are literally like being forced to do it. I feel like it's just so upsetting to watch these ads, especially this particular one, because like the pained look in the woman's face, and she's just like over and over again like just wiping water with a paper towel, and it's like a nod to the real thing, but also like, what would it happen if the actors were under duress for several weeks and then had to put on that ad? And I really liked that one. That was the one that I remember the most.
And further evidence of Wanda's powers slipping or her becoming more and more distracted, right?
Yeah.
What about Lagos? Does that connect to anything else in the MCU? The way that the previous ads did?
Yeah, well, Lagos is where she killed those people from Wakanda, remember? From Avengers, Captain America, Civil War. Well, she didn't kill them, actually. It was an accident because one of the villains...
Oh, okay, yeah, right.
I
remember that.
Yeah, one of the villains tried to blow himself up. She contained the explosion. She threw him up into the air so he wouldn't explode around the people on the ground. But he exploded in the air and killed the people, but they were from Wakanda.
Killed fewer people than otherwise if she hadn't acted.
Yeah, we don't know the number. But the point is, it was one of those times where Wanda was accused of being like irresponsible or couldn't control her powers. Right. If she wasn't there, that explosion still would have occurred. So it's like it's bad to blame her for that. But we actually talked about this. If you want to listen to the episode of Captain America: Civil War, it's in the archives. I think that's what we call them. So.
Yeah, and I specifically remember us talking about that one.
We talked about it for a long time. Yeah. I think we talked about it for quite a while.
That's a big event, so.
Yeah. All right, next episode is called All New Halloween Spooktacular. Mike, what happens in this episode? What's going on?
The big thing in this one is Vision has had it. He goes off to investigate the town and see what's really going on here. That's the big note. And then we've got everybody else like kind of going through the town. Pietro is questioning Wanda, trying to find things out about her. Yeah, that's it. That's my summary. What about you? What else you got to add on that?
Well, we get to reveal that. Okay, first we see that Pietro has super speed, which we can talk about how that would work.
See, that didn't even stand out to me.
But it will stand out when we realize who he is at the end of the episode. So I guess I should just wait on that. Just keep shutting up. But we see that Tommy has super speed, and we know Billy has magic powers. So the kids have super speed. And like going back, wouldn't that make them mutants if they're born with abilities?
Could you? They were born. They were, but
that's funny. We don't have to stay there that long with it. We can keep moving. But it's like, okay. So in the opening scene, what was? I love that. For some reason, the opening montage was my favorite. I don't know why, because every one of them is supposed to like simulate like a TV show kind of opening.
Right.
What did that simulate? I keep forgetting.
Malcolm in the Middle.
Yes.
The
it
whole
looks so good.
Intro, then the kids walking down the stairs talking directly to the camera. Classic.
Yeah, that's great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the show, it looks well. It's filmed well. I love the Halloween theme. I love that Wanda's wearing the Scarlet Witch costume. She probably doesn't even know what that means or what it's supposed to look like in her head.
Yeah, she called it like some kind of Sarkovian thing.
Fortune teller or something?
Yes.
Fortune teller, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it seems like a weird outfit for a fortune teller to wear, but okay, I'll go with it.
And then Vision wearing a Vision costume.
Right.
Just
Like-
the best.
And they say he's dressed up like a Mexican wrestler.
Yeah.
That's funny. Man, it's a pretty good episode. But also, I like Vision does begin to investigate, and the further he goes out into the town's outskirts, the weirder and weirder it gets. And Melissa, you've been liking sort of like I don't know why you've been liking this, but you've been liking the people's breakdowns. Like,
Let's just say I can relate.
But there's this one woman who's like standing still, but she's crying. Do you remember that?
Oh yeah,
She's repeatedly like putting up Halloween decorations.
That scene, I feel like, is once again so good at establishing like the boundaries. Like now we see like the physical boundaries within like inside the world instead of just outside. And then we kind of see that the limitations of her powers, like she is already kind of like stressed out, obviously, because of, she's been doing it for so long. But like the fact that it's established that everybody on the outskirts is basically frozen. Like she gets them to one spot and then just keeps them there because she does have limitations. Like there is sort of an established, like, we see the limit, which I think is really interesting. And then, as you guys mentioned earlier, Pietro is like asking Wanda questions and really does bring up a bunch of like the behind the scenes of the ethical implications of keeping kids in their bed sleeping, to try to like minimize having people awake and telling them what to do, and like it all just builds really well. And I think that they drop these hints and they drop the reveals slowly enough that it keeps it interesting, learning her control. And obviously the story is all about her discovering what her powers are and like who she is. It's kind of like a discovering who you are, but it's almost like hidden underneath everything else. So it kind of sneaks up on you.
Yeah.
Why do you think they decided to have her keep the kids like captive and out of sight this whole time? Is that a commentary on like early sitcoms where there weren't that many kids around, or
probably both? Like both that and also having to control the minds of like hundreds of children probably at once. Probably just easier. Yeah. Like Pietro says, it's ethical to keep them asleep so that they're not traumatized like everybody else.
Yeah, there's a couple different things. Like, yes, I think it would be kind of a bridge too far if we see like kids being manipulated, but also from a casting standpoint, Disney's like, we don't want to hire a bunch of kids. We don't need to write a way to us not do that, And so,
do you think she's letting them run wild? Like, are these kids actually trick or treating, or is she controlling them?
I think she's controlling them because the kids on the outskirts of the town who are like dressed up, but they're like frozen in place.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
right. Yep.
Nah.
That's a good point.
It's not good. It's not.
Yeah, and I think if Wanda knew what she was doing, I think she would. I don't know. Maybe she would. Maybe she does know. Maybe she. I don't know.
I think at this point in the episode, she is fully aware of what she's doing. She's just holding on to it.
Yeah.
Right.
But then we get, I like that we get Vision interacting with Agnes. And she's like, am I dead? And she's like, no, why would you say that? Because you are, what we know about Agnes will make that whole scene a little bit, more sinister. But I did like the fact that she said that. And like the acting overall was pretty solid.
Oh yeah,
and
Catherine Hahn's a great actress.
Yeah, it just looks dark. It looks scary, And when Vision tries to work his way through the barrier, and then he finds out, for Vision himself, like Vision isn't 100% not real, but he has a self-awareness to him. And so all of a sudden, like, he kind of knows that he is, like, probably tied to this place. And, like, he wants to, like, if he doesn't have any memories of what happened to him as the Vision, but he is the Vision. And so you have a very interesting, like, dynamic between what he's supposed to do, which is, like, you know, kind of be a hero, versus what he is, which is, like, kind of Wanda's little puppet. And, like, he's starting to have some very strong issues with it and pushing through the barrier. I thought that was a really good scene. It looked visually really well, and I thought it was good.
Well, Pedro says the same thing, right? He says he got shot in the street, and the next thing he knew, his sister was calling him.
Yeah, I don't want to talk about Pedro. So much more. I'll get to him later. Okay. But at the end of the episode, Wanda expands the barrier even more, making it massive. And she brings in a few of the people from SWORD get kind of swallowed up in it.
Turn into a circus.
Oh, yeah. Love that. I loved that joke. It's a very subtle joke. The government agency turns into a circus and they're all clowns. That's funny. Not a metaphor or anything.
Yeah. Mike, can you tell us about the commercial?
It's a Yo Magic yogurt ad. And I'm sure, Melissa, you love this one.
I did.
Maybe not, since it's okay, you did. All right, yeah. So we've got a kid in this one. He's trying to open his yogurt, and he can't open his yogurt, so he just keeps starving and starving and starving on this desert island. And then at the end it says, Yo Magic, the snack for survivors.
The metaphors are not subtle anymore by episode 6. It's laying it on so thick, which I think is great. I think some things, you know, repeating the same theme over and over again and making it more obvious over and over again is just, I just love them because it shows every part of Wanda, and then you can watch the show and you can take what you think is important from the show, or you can sympathize with her, you can empathize with her, you don't have to, but it gives you all of it, and then you can hold her accountable if you need to, or if you want to, or, I mean, I'm holding her accountable, but for the bad things she's doing. Mm-hmm. But we just get to see why, and we get to see all these fun, I just like the show.
Yeah, I mean, it's so good, and just the I don't want to say bravery, but the level of creativity is really, really sharp here. I'm glad that Disney relaxed itself for this WandaVision and allowed. I mean, we haven't seen a show like this since, and I'm really hoping that Moon Knight, when it comes out next week, right? Is it next week?
31st, right?
Yeah. I hope Moon Knight kind of has the same kind of flavor. I hope it doesn't take itself too seriously, because it's so much fun what WandaVision is doing.
I'm wondering if this commercial is saying that while Wanda has all these kids sleeping in their beds throughout this, are they not getting any food, so they're kind of slowly
I don't want to think about that.
Withering away?
That's terrible. That could be true, though.
That is such a good point. I didn't even think about that. I kind of took it as like she's slowly dying inside. But yeah, no, that is a great question, because
you can survive for a week without food, and this takes about a week to go through. So those kids might be starving to death. Yeah, that could be happening, which is a humanitarian crisis at this point. You know,
go from fasting to eating a bunch of candy on Halloween.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Yeah, it's not good. It's not good what she's doing. It's bad. It's very bad.
Well, we do find out that she doesn't remember how she did it.
It's self-care.
It was an accident at first.
Mm-hmm.
It's self-care.
And then she start. You know, she's in it. It's happening, and for her, it's not bad. So let's just continue this and see how it plays out.
Who hasn't?
It wasn't an evil plan of hers.
Yeah, who hasn't broken up with someone? That's a terrible thing. We've all done that, right? It's like, I'm going to break your heart, but it makes my life better. So it's like, you know, like, sometimes you have to starve some kids in their beds just for a little bit.
Just for a few weeks.
Yeah, those kids are probably overweight. Don't they talk about childhood obesity all the time anyway? Like that, you know.
Are you saying that Wanda's doing everyone a favor by making their lives more organized and pretty?
Don't let me get superpowers is what I should be saying. Don't let me get any kind of power whatsoever. If you think what Wanda's doing bad, you know, if you even want to know what I would do.
Right, there's several references to Ellis Ave, and we see Ellis Ave in this episode. It's the last street that Vision walks across before he goes out into the field and the edge of the hex. Mm-hmm. Is there any significance to Ellis Ave, like as a name?
I don't have anything.
Me neither.
There's some writers, I think Mark Ellis and Warren Ellis. But I don't think Mark Ellis wrote anything for this. But I'd have to double check. But I don't know anything.
Okay.
Next episode, Breaking the Fourth Wall. This is the episode that kind of like takes everything and just really shakes it all up, and we finally get a lot of good answers. It's like, so the opening montage thing, I think it was based off of, so this is the mid to late 2000s. I'm not sure. It's like I don't know exactly what it's doing, but the show's kind of taking a turn where it's more focused on Wanda and what she's going through as opposed to like the kids or anything else. The kids are gone. Vision's gone. And so now it's just like her by herself. It feels extremely lonely. And Wanda seems like she's suffering like a lot now.
Yeah, I think this one's kind of cued after Modern Family.
Mm-hmm.
Also, The Office. The intro song sounded exactly like an homage to The Office. And like with that interview style, which isn't exclusive to The Office, but like Parks and Rec does the same thing. Like a lot of like family sitcoms do that interview style breakaway to get people's like internal monologue. Which is,
I think,
great.
Yeah, no, it's great, but also it's kind of used up. We need to figure out a different storytelling of it. But the way they're doing it in WandaVision is fantastic. I think she just seems real sad, you know, and like I think she's starting to realize that what she's doing just can't work anymore. She's super depressed in this episode, questioning everything. Not sure about like her sanity and what she's doing is okay. She's finally kind of realizing that even though it's been nice, even after she figured out what was going on, I do think by episode 7, she fully realizes what she's doing and she's just down in the dumps. And Vision is alive because she expanded the border at the end of, episode 6. And so he's like super far away and she's just at home feeling her feelings per that depression commercial. Yeah, even sending your kids away. She's like, the kids go hang out with Agnes. I need a time to myself. It feels sort of kind of like if you look at like the progression from like parenting and adulthood in the 80s and 90s to 2000s. It's like, hey, I can be a person and have my own feelings and not have to be connected to these children all the time. They can do something while I try to deal with what I'm going through. Which is interesting, but of course, there's some more nefarious stuff going on with the kids and Agnes, and we'll get to that, of course. Mike, what else is happening in this episode?
Well, one thing that's happening is like everything in the house is changing to like older versions of itself, and throughout the town and things like that. I thought that was a interesting thing for them to do.
Yeah. We saw her sort of lose control of her powers just a little bit like that when she was pregnant and giving birth, which was like a high stress situation.
Right.
And then everything was kind of normal. But yeah, episode 7, random things in the house are like phasing back to a previous version or something like that because she's once again losing control, at least with her immediate surroundings, which... What's going on with the rest of the town, guys? Don't know.
Right. Yeah, no kidding. And then we've got Monica, right? She's regrouping with some loyalists within SWORD.
Yeah, and she's getting ready to break through the barrier, and this is where she's going to get her superpowers, which is just fantastic. That whole
you gotta tell me about that because I don't know anything about it.
Okay, so they're trying to use like a special rover to push through the barrier, and it doesn't work. So then
it's like a space rover or something. So
Monica, just with her sheer force of will, decides just to crawl through it and just push through it. And now she's pushing through it. And now this is all theory crafting. This is all stuff I'm not making up, but this is all stuff based off the show that I'm kind of just throwing in there. Wanda's powers are based off of one of the power gems, one of the
Infinity Stones?
Infinity Stones. They call it Infinity Stones. They're called Power Gems. They call it Infinity Gems. It depends on when you read the comics. But anyway,
the Soul Stone specifically, right?
No, it's the Mind Gem actually. But they used to call all of them Soul Gems, which is confusing. Anyway,
okay, all right.
It was the Mind Gem, but basically the Infinity Gems have an enormous amount of power, and Wanda was infused or got some of that power when she got her powers. And so all this energy is coming from that. And so as Monica's pushing through the barrier, she's absorbing all of this energy and it's changing her and giving her powers. But if you listened to her as like, there's a lot of like kind of like what's it called? Over speaking or not over speaking. What's it called?
Voiceover?
Voiceover. I totally forgot that term. It's a lot of voiceover, and it's from the Captain Marvel movie. Did you guys hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I didn't really make out much, but I could tell that it was coming from Captain Marvel. Yeah.
I didn't talk about this last episode, but Monica has beef with Captain Marvel, like real beef. Because like someone mentioned Captain Marvel and she like didn't want to talk about it, or she said something kind of snide. And my feeling is that, remember, Captain Marvel left to help the Skrulls at the end of the movie, and she left her mom and her, and she didn't come back. And so like this woman who like Monica loved as probably as a second mother, not the second mother, but as a good friend to her mother, just abandoned them. Her mom dies of cancer, and
right.
like, and so Monica's like way by herself. And so like, it's like that dynamic's going to play out when they meet each other again. Whenever Monica meets Captain Marvel, Carol Danvers in the movies or the TV shows, it's not going to be a hug, happy experience. It's going to be, I'm mad at you, I don't like you, you're not good. Because it's very interesting that all that stuff. But when she comes through, Monica does have quote unquote superpowers. I'm not sure how the superpowers work, but they're energy based, and that's pretty much all I know. But she definitely has changed when she comes through.
Yes, as she's going through, she splits up into all of the different versions of herself she's been in the Hex before. Mm. Then you start hearing all of those like voiceovers from Captain Marvel, and I think some from earlier episodes. Mm. And then somehow she's able to like pull them all back together to be herself. And when that happens, her eyes turn a very bright blue.
And she comes out the other side as herself and not as a Wanda version of herself.
And when Wanda kind of attacks her later, she's able to kind of resist in a way. Like she's got a little juice, which is cool.
She's got one of the best lines on the whole show.
What was it?
The only lies I told are the ones you put in my mouth.
Oh yeah, that was like, good. Boo. That was good.
Yeah. And you can't, a line like that, you can't copy, you can't write down, you can't say this is mine, it's over. It's just, it feels good.
She had like a mic drop moment.
There's an antidepressant ad in this episode. Makes sense.
Yep.
It's called Nexus. I think that's just a play on the Hex. Nexus, Hexus. Mm-hmm. Melissa, what do you think of the ad?
You guys have seen like depression ads, or not depression ads, but like depression
that's all
medication
that they play
ads
on TV nowadays.
Yeah,
right?
and you always have like a sad woman doing normal things but being sad, or like holding something in front of her face to show that she's like pretending to be happy or whatever. The interesting thing with this commercial is that I think at the end she wasn't really happy, like she was still sad like the whole time, and then all the different if you take Nexus, like the may result in you feeling your feelings like dealing with your grief and perhaps like coming to terms with the consequences of your actions kind of thing, which is a great, I wouldn't say foreshadowing, but it's a great way I think to prep people for like she's actually kind of dealing or beginning to start dealing with the problems that she's caused, essentially, or at least she's open to it, and that she's actually feeling some of her grief for the first time.
Another read I was getting on that voiceover in this ad was kind of preparing the people for coming out of Wanda's spell.
Yeah.
And so like being able to feel their own feelings again for the first time and for how long.
That's a great double layer, yeah.
Yeah.
And don't forget, we have Vision in the circus at the very end as well. So he's kind of dealing with his stuff. Not much, but I think it's revealed that Darcy Lewis tells him the truth about what happened to him and stuff like that, and he's got more insight into what's happening to him, which I think is good.
Yeah.
We meet Agatha Harkness in this episode.
Wait, hang on. I mean, isn't that probably the most important thing that happens in this episode? Is this?
Is there? Okay, what else? What else do you want to talk about?
So it's revealed that Agatha Harkness is quote unquote the villain, and I think that's something we've all been looking for, is a way to absolve Wanda of this. And if there's anyone, maybe there's someone who's manipulating her, maybe someone is taking control of her, and then as we find out that Agatha Harkness has been doing all this stuff all along, I mean, you get a very, very fun song at the end, which I think is good.
Yeah, it was great.
Is it over the top? Yes.
It's not really over the top. I mean, after the first few episodes, it's like a return to that flavor.
It's super fun. Yeah. I think everybody pulls it off perfectly. But I mean, I think people were definitely hoping that there was some kind of villain that they could be like, that's it. She's doing this, not Wanda. Ha! It's going to be okay. But then, you're going to be disappointed when you find out it's not really like that, but it's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, we get Agatha Harkness, and she comes out, and it's super interesting. And Agatha Harkness is from the comics. She does have a history with Wanda. She's not a villain per se, but she did help Wanda train and learn about her powers in the comics. So they're using her correctly in this. Using her correctly.
In the comics, I believe Agatha makes Wanda forget that her children died or went away. And when Wanda remembers that, she pretty sure she kills Agatha.
Yeah, but she comes back later.
Okay, yeah.
Death is a temporary thing in the comic books. If you die in comics, there's a 50-50 chance you're going to come back. Matter of fact, you probably will. It's fine.
And she's fine.
Yeah, it must be nice, to do that.
What about Agatha's origin story we see in this episode? Is that from the comics?
Next episode? I don't know. They don't really.
Is that I guess it is the next episode, right? Yeah.
I don't know, Mike. I don't know. I didn't read much about. I didn't read these comics at the time when they came out, and I haven't read a trade of it. But I don't think they ever really gave Agatha Harkness a fleshed out origin story. At the time, they might have rewritten one in the comics since then, but no. But I think the origin story is fantastic. She's in a coven with witches. She gets burned at the stake. All that stuff. I think it's good. But then I like that we learn that Agatha has been attracted to this area because Wanda's abilities, and she wants to know how Wanda got this power. Right? How'd you do it? How'd you learn to do it? What's your secret? And then they go through a really brilliant flashback sequence where we get
before we get into the next episode too much. I know it's my fault for bringing that up, but this is something that I didn't do in my first watch through of WandaVision. Is I didn't watch any of the mid-credit scenes, and there was a mid-credit scene at the end of the Breaking the Fourth Wall episode.
What was it?
Did either of you watch that?
No.
I didn't watch them on the rewatch because you have to sift through 8 minutes of credits.
Right? Did you watch them the first time? Because I definitely did not.
I did. I still remember what it is.
Yeah, I think we missed a couple. It really helps out. Yeah.
You've got to watch them, because if you don't watch them, you're confused.
Give me the time.
Next episode.
Give me the timestamps, and I'll go watch them.
Oh, I don't have that for you. All I did was I just kept hitting this next.
What happens, Mike?
So my thing would skip ahead. So we get Monica is snooping around. She finds this outdoor, cellar doors that leads into Agatha's basement. And, it's got all these trees and roots.
Yeah. And then Pietro
stops her.
Yeah. I forgot that. Yeah, that happens.
Yeah.
All right. That's good.
Never saw that the first time. I don't.
Yeah, I did see that. And I forgot that totally happens. Thanks, Mike.
So in the next episode, when we see Monica and Pietro hanging out, I think on my first watch through, I was like, why are they together hanging out?
Yeah.
I didn't know that she was actually captive by Pietro.
Yeah,
so you got to watch the mid credits.
They need to stop with mid credits. Just stop it. It's fine.
Yeah, either put them really close or not at all.
Or yeah. Don't make the people who fall asleep at the end of the episode suffer.
Right.
But anyway, so this is some interesting comic book stuff. So we're going to get deep into this. We get a flashback to when Wanda's a kid with Pietro. It's in Sokovia. There's a civil war, so there's war outside. But the father brings back all these like DVDs, so we get to see that Wanda watched a lot of these old TV shows, which is kind of how she based the world that she created. But also we get the explosion from the bomb that happened that killed her parents. It's the classic Tony Stark bomb that tick tick ticks. But then Agatha said something very interesting. Agatha said that Wanda used her powers to slow the bomb or make sure it didn't go off. Did you guys notice that?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. That means that she definitely had abilities before the experiment from Hydra, which this is, again, Marvel kind of, hey, I kind of want to date the mutants, X-Men, but I don't really want to date you, but I'm going to kind of hang out with you for a little bit and go, and like, it's not fair. Like Marvel, like the confusion between is the Maximoff twins mutants or not is problematic because they were mutants for a long time. Marvel sold the X-Men rights to Fox. Then they didn't have rights to mutant stuff in the comics. So they actually, in the comic books, they had two different universes. They had the X-Men comics and then they had the Marvel stuff. And the two never met for a long period of time. Then they made it so Pietro and Wanda weren't mutants. And I think that's canon now. But it's like, I don't know if it's still there. It's like so confusing, and that needs to be cleared up. It needs to be cleared up for everyone because Marvel owns the rights to to X-Men stuff now. They have all the rights now. I don't know why they play with people's emotions. Like, it's just not good. Because, like, the biggest concept is that Magneto is the father of Pietro and Wanda. That was the truth for a long time. But then they retconned it in the comics. But that would be so many implications if that was actually something that we could talk about and it's true now, But, like, they just refuse to do it. And it just drives me crazy. Anyway, I'm sorry. That was a long rant. My apologies. We get another flashback where Wanda actually gets the powers from Hydra, so we get to see that and see how that worked. I thought that was really well done.
Is this the first time that we actually see on screen the yellow stone inside of the blue stone?
Yeah.
Because you and I have had conversations in the past about why is the stone blue and why is it giving powers that are different from what the other blue stone is giving, and how it didn't really make sense.
Well, in the movies, like the wand that held the Mind Stone, the little orb was blue, but the stone inside of it was yellow, which is definitely confusing. They never said there was a stone inside of a stone. Yeah, because you had different directors and different writers, so you had several different people trying to make things work. And so again, this is where
this is their chance. This is them fixing all of that.
Yes.
Is what it seems like.
I tell my students all the time in my creative writing class, if you're writing plot heavy stuff, you have to make sure the plot is right. Otherwise, the people who read or watch your stuff is going to get mad when they find plot holes. So that's a definitely huge plot hole. But they fixed it. It's fine. But I think the coolest scene...
Can you remind me and our listeners what the yellow stone and the blue stone are?
In the movies... And in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, the Blue Stone is the Space Gem, and the Mind Stone is Yellow Gem, and they're the first two gems that we see in the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
Okay. So she got her powers from the Mind Stone.
Correct.
I will point out that if both her and Pietro got their powers from that same stone, one of them got reality, mind-bending, cosmic... intense powers, and the other one can just run really fast.
Yes.
Yeah, my son called that out. He's like, she's getting reality powers from the Mind Stone. And it doesn't make sense to him. So, yeah.
Well, here's the deal, and this is something that they don't want to talk about. My theory, and I hate this. I hate that I'm doing this. because I don't like doing that. I don't like fixing stories that other people write. But anyway, my theory is that the Mind Stone didn't give her anything. The Mind Stone simply revealed their powers. So it's like, here's your powers. Like, it's not like I'm giving you these. It's like they revealed them. So it's like, here they are.
I'm gonna do yet more helping out the story here, and I'm gonna say she actually did a little bit of what we see Agatha doing, and she pulled power from the Mind Stone, but not like its specific abilities.
Well,
so it just like amplified her powers.
Yeah. At the end of the day, this needs to be cleaned up, and hopefully they'll do that at some point. But they probably won't. They probably won't. And yes, Quicksilver doesn't have the same kind of powers as Wanda. We all know that. We can get to that later. And like, to be honest with you, it's fine. It's okay. You don't have to be as good as your brother or sister. Like, you can travel the speed.
Kind of makes sense if they're mutants.
It makes way more sense with their
help me. Anyway, I feel like I have to defend Patrio for some reason. But if you read the comics, he actually defends himself. Anyway, the coolest scene is when she busts into Sword headquarters, just super extra Wanda. I'm going to break things until I get what I want. And we see that the Vision has been disassembled, and it's super, super sad. It's just the saddest thing ever when she feels his head and she can't feel him. It's just
right.
It's just super. This bums me out.
Lots of manipulation going on in this scene by the head of Sword.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
He told us, or told the audience and everybody in the story, that she broke in and stole his body. But with this flashback, we see that was all a lie. And the man who was clearly lying, because he was the most sketchy, suspicious person, was lying the whole time.
Right. Yeah.
Which has more implications later. But then she goes to Westview, and then she just has like a complete mental breakdown. And then we get the answers we've been looking for, and that's how Westview became what it was, and that's how everything happened.
Yeah.
Right.
She created Vision. It was revealed that she created Vision with her grief magic almost. She took.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, she created the whole thing. Definitely had a psychotic break, and just almost dissociative episode but with magic.
Yeah. No. Yeah. Imagine if we lived in a world where people had disabilities, every 10% of the population has these abilities. This definitely would happen. Someone who's having issues would, freak out, but they have the ability to manipulate things. It's crazy.
Do you remember the part in this episode where Wanda and Agatha are on what looks like it would be a set for the first episode of the show?
Mm-hmm.
And Agatha's up in the stands. She's clapping.
That was good.
That was actually the real set of the first episode of this show.
No way. Huh.
Yeah, remember I said in our last podcast how the first episode, which was titled before a live studio audience, was actually filmed before a live studio audience, and that was the actual set.
Mm-hmm.
They had, so when they brought people in for the live studio audience recording of that first episode, they had made the full set look like a period piece. So they had chairs that they thought would be the type of chairs audience would be sitting in back in the late 50s, early 60s. And they had the cast, or not the cast, the crew was wearing costumes, period costumes.
Oh, that's awesome.
So they even had the railing in front of the seats was something made to look like period piece. So the experience of the live studio audience was as much as they could what it would have been back then.
Yeah.
And so that was the real set.
That's super fun. So at the end of the episode, it's we get the first mention of the Scarlet Witch actual term. This is the first time the word Scarlet Witch has been used in the Marvel Cinematic Universe at all. So that's pretty fun.
Yeah, Agatha says chaos magic. Mm-hmm. This was chaos magic, and that makes you
the Scarlet
Witch.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is chaos magic a thing?
It's in the Marvel. Yeah, it's in Marvel Comics. Yeah, and there's an old Avengers comic, and it's old, but it feels like I just read it yesterday, which just kind of highlights how old I am. Where it's like Kurt Busiek wrote it. And the Scarlet Witch's powers have always been kind of odd throughout. Like, is she a mutant? Is she a witch? What can she do? What's her powers? And then it's revealed that her abilities, that she has 2 different forms of abilities. The stuff that we see with Wanda when she's throwing stuff or when she's doing these little physical things is called hexes. That's what they've always talked about in the comics. Her chaos magic is what's revealed now. That's the kind of stuff that she's doing throughout, where she can pretty much manipulate reality. But interesting factoid, in the comics, it used to be, her powers used to be the manipulation of luck or a manipulation of events. So like, there's some comic book characters, Longshot from the X-Men, Domino from the X-Men, that can manipulate luck. So like, if they're in a fist fight, luckily the guy slips on some water, and so it's like they can manipulate luck so it benefits them. Wanda had that ability in the comics for a long time, but now they've morphed it into a much more powerful kind of magic, which is interesting.
There was a character like that in Deadpool 2, I think.
Domino, yeah. That's her name.
Okay.
That's her name, Domino.
I didn't remember her name.
They actually, I hate that movie, but the way they showed her powers were pretty fun. I thought
you didn't watch either of the Deadpool
I lied. No,
Man.
Okay, no, let me explain. I don't watch the movies. I just watch the YouTube videos until I get satiated with my curiosity.
I don't even know what that means.
I don't know either.
Like, what do they put like clips of the movie on YouTube?
You can go on YouTube right now and watch a whole movie with clips. Just watch clips, and there it is. So I'll just.
That's a bad way to watch movies, man.
It's a great way to procrastinate. Let me tell you.
Yeah. That okay.
If you don't want to do, go ahead.
You could always watch like 4 or 5 video essays that are almost the same length of the movie instead of watching the actual
even longer.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, YouTubers are the worst. I'll just say that.
You should just watch the movies, man. Watch the movies. They're good.
I should become a YouTuber, but do it like correctly. As I see,
yeah,
it would be the worst YouTube channel in the world. It'll just be me like I don't know, looking at TV. That's like a YouTube camera watching me watch television. That's mental.
Right.
Anyway,
the new Mystery Science Theater.
Was there a commercial for this? There wasn't, was there?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
No.
I think we finally start breaking away from the TV format with these last 2 episodes.
Yeah, we get
there was a mid-credit.
What happened in mid-credit? I forget.
Sword builds a white vision.
Oh, yeah, yes, the white vision.
And then they use leftover power, still cursing through the drone from Wanda to activate.
Yes.
New vision.
Yeah. White Vision is a thing. He is from the comics. It happens kind of similar. When Vision gets hurt, they rebuild him, but he loses his humanity. So he doesn't have the same sort of memories and stuff anymore. He's very much more of a robot than he is an actual like living, breathing person. So that's how
they use like a spark from Wanda
no.
kickstart him? Or?
No. They were married. They were married at the time. When he gets hurt and then when he gets rebuilt, he's just like not the Vision she fell in love with anymore. I think they get a divorce. It's super sad. Super sad. Super sad. But
so that was another mid-credit that I did not watch the first time through. Yeah. And in the next episode, when White Vision shows up, I'm like, where did you come from?
Yeah. But yeah, that is comic accurate, which I flipped out when I saw it because like, we'll talk about this. We can start talking about this now at the season finale. This series, I read a couple reviews of the season finale, and it's sort of like feels like a Marvel action scene. This episode, it's like, you know, we're going to Marvel superhero it up. We're going to have a fight scene and flying around and magic and cars flying, and like it doesn't have the same feel as the first episode. And I guess at some point,
I mean, definitely not.
No,
it feels nothing like the first episode.
Yeah. I guess it's how else were they going to end this? I'm not sure. I was fine with it. I'm curious if you guys liked it, but we'll talk about that later in a little bit. But basically, it's a big fight scene. The Agatha Harkness wants Wanda's powers. Wanda doesn't want to give them up for obvious reasons. Vision's fighting the White Vision. The kids are fighting the Sword military. So
hilarious.
Doesn't she say kids fight the military?
She's like, yeah, boys handle the military. Mommy's gonna be right back.
Yep. You got it, Mom. It's like, well, okay, that's fine.
Hey, they did a good job.
Yeah, yeah.
Good.
So we get a lot of action. We get a really cool scene. I forget what they Vision and White Vision, which I hate saying White Vision. So I'll just say Vision and Vision have a conversation about themselves, where both realize they're not the actual Vision. One, it was a disassembled form of the Vision, and the other was like it's sort of like a imagined version for Wanda. One has memories and the other doesn't. And our Vision, the Green Vision,
the first one, not the new one.
Not the new one.
You should like White Vision. This is like the one time where white's the word instead of like Black Falcon.
All right.
It's White Vision.
All right. Color anemic Vision.
Albino
yeah,
Vision.
Albino Vision.
That's bad for albino people. So anyway, so the first Vision unlocks the memories out of White Vision, and then at the very end he says, "I am the Vision," and then White Vision flies off. Which means that somewhere out there in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, White Vision is out there. He has his memories, and we don't know what he's doing. We have no idea what's going on with him. He's just gone. And so
he's not working for Sword.
It's not working for Sword. It's been a year since this show came out. So it's like for a year, Vision's just been flying around. No one's mentioned him. I don't think anyone's...
He didn't do anything with Spider-Man.
No one's curious about where he is. I haven't seen anybody write anything about it. There's no hints that he's going to be in any movies. I don't know if if the actor has a contract. I don't know. So
I mean, he's been in almost every single Marvel movie. He's got to be willing to do it more.
He's been in almost every movie. He wasn't in the first one. So I
didn't say he was in all of them. I said almost all of them.
That's true. You are correct.
He was in Iron Man, wasn't he?
No.
It was a different voice.
Oh, Mike, you're right. He did do the voice for Iron Man. So yeah, he has been in everything. You're right. I apologize.
He's so willing to keep playing Vision.
I wouldn't want to do it anymore. I don't know.
I mean, I don't know.
So listen, if you're listening, Paul Bettany, if you're listening, please, and I know you're listening to our podcast because our podcast is super successful, please call us, and we would love to do an interview, a discussion, talk about your future of the MCU. It'd be kind of fun.
Yeah, you would love to hear his voice. What'd you say it was like as smooth as butter?
Oh, yeah, dude. Yes, I would love to talk to him. It's fantastic. I would also want to know his workout regimen because it's also fantastic.
Yeah.
So what else happens this episode?
I was watching the behind the scenes, and they didn't really go into detail, but apparently he was wearing a prosthetic butt at some point during the filming of this show.
Maybe that's not funny, but I think it's funny.
It's extremely hilarious.
Yeah, I'm wondering why they did that. Maybe it was just to fill out the suit or something.
I guess
probably.
So Jarvis, you never can tell what's prosthetic and what isn't.
I can tell. I can tell. So,
all right.
What else happens in this episode?
What's that book's name?
Darkhold.
Darkhold?
Mm-hmm.
It's a weird name for a book.
I guess.
They call it the Book of the Damned. That comes up in this episode.
Yeah. So the Darkhold is in the comics. It was a big thing for a comic called the Midnight Suns, which you're probably going to hear more about in the future. It's a big magic special Darkhold darkness book. You're probably going to hear more about this too in the Doctor Strange movie that's coming out too.
Is this like Marvel's version of the Cryptonomicon?
Yes, it actually is. It's very, yeah. There's some copyright infringement that could be accused of in there. 100%. Yeah, it's definitely the same thing.
We learned that Wanda is more powerful than the Sorcerer Supreme in this episode.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I mean, that's what they say.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, or
that's what Agatha says.
She definitely is super powerful. I don't know why. We don't have to compare each other all the time, but
so she's more powerful than Wong.
Yes, yeah, that's funny. Yeah, she's more powerful than Sorcerer Supreme, 100%. But she doesn't know how to use her powers. So
yeah, and that's the whole point of this show is like slowly exploring her powers basically by using them. Unethically, and then being forced to relive her childhood by Agatha. And then, it's just such a great way for her to develop her character, develop her powers, set the boundaries for what she is capable of, coming to terms with her powers and her grief and realize. I just think the show is so good. Like, I'd rewatch this show.
Yeah. And it's a massive investment. Like, you could tell that someone at Marvel was talked to Elizabeth Olsen and everybody involved and like, listen, we're going to develop this character hardcore. We're going to make a whole series out of it, and we're going to explore your character thoroughly. So we kind of want you to stay around for a while. And she probably said, okay. And because again, like we said last episode, this movie's definitely going to help people watch Doctor Strange. Like, more people are going to watch Doctor Strange 2 because of WandaVision than would without it. Because it's a lot of questions, and we like the characters, and we're curious about the story. So we definitely are going to watch this. It'll be fun. And
seems like Elizabeth Olsen has like a stick-to-itiveness from her family. Like, her sisters were in Full House for
30 years.
Yeah, I mean, Yeah. So it seems like it runs in the family that they're willing to stick it out as long as you don't do anything against them.
The Olsen twins did Full House, but they didn't do Fuller House.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right.
They were at a different point in their life, but yeah.
Anyway.
In this episode, we learned that, or at least I learned, I don't know anything about this. I'm told by Agatha that Wanda's destiny is to destroy the world. Is that like a comic reference or something? Or what's the deal? What's the deal there?
Let's go ahead.
I guess that's in reference to her. If she's the Scarlet Witch, apparently the Scarlet Witch's destiny is to destroy the world.
I think it's like one to set stakes and like kind of almost be like a teaser to like a carrot, dropped in front of you. It could be a reference to House of M event that there's going to be something similar, because in this, like, nobody
destroy the world in House of M.
Yeah, like nobody dies in WandaVision, but in House of M, when she at the very end says no more mutants, a lot of people die because either their powers were keeping them alive or they were doing something with their powers at the time, like flying. And then
that's not destroying the world, though. That's like,
well, if you're a mutant, it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's a kind of world. Like tens of thousands of mutants die.
That's like less deaths than Thanos.
Well,
that is technically true.
Yeah, I guess you have to measure death levels to see what's bad and what's good.
But then when they all come back, I don't know.
Yeah, and to tell to that, it's like the Scarlet Witch isn't like in this episode, in this series, the Scarlet Witch is a title given to certain people, but in the comics there was only ever one Scarlet Witch, which was Wanda. It was her code name. So the show's kind of trying to do certain things. I think by saying the Scarlet Witch is destined to destroy the world, it's amping up things that could happen later on in the MCU, which I think is going to be fun to watch. We have to wait. We have to wait and see what happens in Doctor Strange 2. Because I'm pretty sure whatever happens in Doctor Strange 2 is going to lead into the next Wanda shows that will be made. We know they're going to be made, and we have to just wait and see what they're going to do. We don't know yet.
Yeah. I think because we're told her destiny is to destroy the world, that is confirmed that she is only a power of good in the upcoming Doctor Strange movie.
I don't know. I'm curious. When's it come out? Next month?
May?
Oh my gosh. That's almost next month. I cannot wait. I'm super excited.
Yeah, it's 2 months from now, so it's almost next month.
Well, yeah. April. It's April a month. I keep forgetting. Anyway, other things that happen in this episode, we realize that Pietro is an actor manipulated by Agnes. I don't really want to get into it.
He's the husband she's been talking about for the full series.
Yeah,
you never meet.
Randy, is that his name?
Yeah, Randy Boner. Boner.
Yeah, Boner.
So silly. It is what it is. Fine.
But yeah, so he's been much like the kids in the neighborhood. He's been hostage up in the attic of his house by Agatha the entire series.
Doesn't explain how he has super speed. Doesn't explain how he got it. She's
a very powerful witch, and she gave him super speed.
That has to be the explanation. Right?
Yeah. I don't believe he can run that fast once Monica rips the enchanted necklace.
He's
off
just
of
a
him.
guy from the neighborhood, so he definitely doesn't have super speed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's Agatha.
It's just annoying.
It was Agatha all along.
Yeah, it was Agatha all along.
I don't like it. And then we get a super fight between. This is actually a pretty clever fight between Wanda and Agatha at the very end, where Agatha used runes to block Wanda's powers in the cave basement place,
Right.
and then Wanda manipulated Agnes to create the wounds. No, Wanda manipulated the fight so she create runes that incorporates the entire hex that she made.
Yeah, right.
So that made it
a specific space.
Yeah,
yes.
and then she beats the villain, and then she ends up.
And she made this whole time she made Agatha think that Wanda had given up. Okay, I'm going to give you all of my powers by zapping you over and over again, and you can see that you're weakening me. I'm starting to turn into like a emaciated old mummy. But actually, that was just a spell, and she wasn't really changing. She was just altering her appearance to look like that.
Yeah, it was good. It was good. And then to wrap it all up, Wanda is a Scarlet Witch. She doesn't set things right exactly what she did. She says that, hey, Agnes, you're going to stay here until I come get you. So that means that we're going to see Agnes again. She then has a very soft
Agnes gets to play her role. She's the nosy neighbor.
Yeah, which is
in this town for the rest of her life until Wanda comes back.
Yeah, which is probably going to be like next whenever they go to do a thing. Then we get a touching moment where the hex is starting to collapse, and then Wanda says goodbye to her children, which is super sad. And then she says goodbye to Vision, which is super sad. And then the hex envelops her, and then it's all gone. And then all of a sudden, the town is back to quote unquote normal, and everybody's traumatized. And Wanda refuses to take responsibility and have to deal with her actions. She flies off.
She says sorry to Monica. And then flies away.
I'm sorry that I did this, and she just and I kind of feel like I would probably do the same thing. It's like I did some bad stuff. It was rough, but me sitting in jail is not going to help anyone, especially me. So bye. I'm out of here. Oh, the big bad the sword villain. He didn't die, did he? He just got arrested.
He got arrested.
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah. Darcy runs into his vehicle. He gets knocked out and then arrested. Yeah.
Melissa, what were you gonna say?
Oh, I was gonna say that I don't think that they shy away. You mentioned this earlier that it wasn't Agatha really doing anything to Wanda. Like the whole premise of this whole kind of everyone being tortured, basically. When Agnes wakes everybody up. And everyone's begging her to let them escape and leave and stuff like that. And Wanda is forced to at least recognize that these are the consequences of her actions. She does not apologize. She does not do anything to the town. She doesn't make any reparations, but she did at least have, I think that they don't shy away from the fact that this is all her fault, basically. Yeah. And all these people are holding her accountable. Whether or not she's holding herself accountable or apologizing or doing anything to make up for the fact that their whole lives were on hold for a month.
It would have been super awkward if she had to apologize. So,
Yeah.
She
did a walk of shame through the town.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She had a hoodie up over her head, kind of it was good. And then we get two mid-credit scenes.
So wait, before we get into that, you brought up just whether we like this episode or not, because it's basically just fight scenes.
Yeah, Melissa, you go first. Did you like how it all ended? Did you like how it all resolved itself?
Yeah, it felt more like the ending of a movie when you have a first intro movie for whatever superhero. This kind of just sort of felt like the end fight scene of any movie for a superhero. So it was fine. I liked the parts that weren't fighting more than the fighting, but the fighting was pretty good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. What about you, Mike?
I liked it a lot better since I watched the mid-credit for the previous episode this time around. And so I knew where White Vision came from. That helped out a lot. So I think I liked it a lot better. I know last episode I told you too that the last 2 episodes were probably my least favorite. And I think, now that I watched all of these mid-credit scenes, definitely amps them up a little bit. And now I just kind of think I think the series was actually relatively even from beginning to end.
Yeah.
Like I don't really have a favorite.
It's a great. It is without a doubt the best Marvel series they've done, and hopefully they can.
But on my first watch through, when I was missing all these mid-credit scenes, I definitely did not like the last 2 episodes as much.
Yeah, we do get 2 mid-credit scenes here.
What about you?
I loved it. It was great. It's fun. Yeah. 2 mid-credit scenes. Yeah, that's all I gotta say. 2 mid-credit scenes. The first one we get is Monica talks to a sword agent, but it's revealed that the sword agent is actually a Skrull, and that Nick Fury wants to talk to Monica, and they're gonna go up into space. That is definitely hinting at a couple different Marvel things. There's going to be a Secret Invasion series coming out, and then the Marvels, where it's going to be Monica Rambeau, Captain Marvel, and Miss Marvel from the Miss Marvel series. It's going to be a while till we see any of this stuff come out, but that's the kind of hint to that. And
Miss Marvel's a new TV show we're seeing this year, right?
Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we get a cool scene where I guess Wanda's in the middle of I don't know where she is, Scandinavia, I guess.
A magical valley of her creation, I think.
I don't want to go there. But she's somewhere kind of special, wherever she is. And we see her doing stuff.
All the trees are on a grid.
Yeah, okay, it might be something she's manipulating. I don't know. I don't know. We don't know. But the cool thing about this is that there's like the astral form of Wanda is reading the Darkhold, and we hear the screams of her children,
right?
Which is super interesting. Which is definitely going to tie into Doctor Strange too.
Yeah, it makes me think of the time when Doctor Strange was going through all of the different multiverses to try to figure out what was the way to beat Thanos.
Yeah.
And so this makes me think she's going through multiverses to find
their kids,
her real children.
Yeah, we don't know. It's we don't know, but I like that. For some reason, I'm really invested in her and her kids. I don't know why. I just really am interested in her finding her children. I don't know why.
They were cute. They were adorable. Mm-hmm. So
you probably have like a lot of investment in her children from the comics, right?
No, I think it's just a personal thing. I don't know why. I don't know. It hits a certain note. Okay. And that's it. That's the end of the series. That's WandaVision. That is
WandaVision.
That took a year. It took a year for us to get to. Almost exactly a year. Mm-hmm. It's worth the wait. Hopefully, our listeners. I know our listeners were wondering when we were going to get to this, and we finally did. So it's good.
Yeah, got a lot of votes.
Yeah,
lots of people wanted us to talk about it.
There you go. Melissa, thank you for being here for it. It was really fun.
Yeah, I loved rewatching all these episodes.
I have some news you can abuse, Mike, if you're ready.
I'm born ready. I eagerly await news you can abuse.
I don't have any. I don't have any rumor boomers though. So
that's good.
I'll have some rumors boomers next time. News you can't abuse. A Nova series is definitely going to come at some point. The guy who's writing Moon Knight is going to do it. We don't know if it's a movie. We don't know if it's a series, but we're going to see Nova. If you saw Guardians,
Nova is the guy that we never see in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Correct. Right? Correct.
The Nova Corps shows up there.
Correct. And I can't tell listeners how amazing the Annihilation series is. Melissa, I don't know if you've ever read them.
No.
But it's a story where Nova Corps is like a big thousands of space cops. They get killed by an invasion army of alien bugs. He's the last. Rick Ryder is the last Nova left, and he's in charge of trying to save the galaxy, the universe, basically. And it's a huge war story, and it's fantastic. And then Marvel writes some other stuff, and it turns into a disaster. And this suffers tremendously. But anyway, I'm super curious about this Nova series. We'll see how it goes.
Nova is the Nova Prime, right?
Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do. But it's either going to be.
So the Nova would be the person who took over Glenn Close's position from the Guardians of the Galaxy movies.
I'm going to say yes, even though that's kind of not true. But I'm going to give you a yes from that.
That's what you told me though from the comics. Like there's a Nova Prime, there's a leader.
Yes,
and that's who Nova is. That's who Nova is, right?
Basically, yes. Yeah, kind of, yes, sort of. And Black Panther, Wakanda Forever has wrapped. The filming's done, so we'll see that at some point soon. We'll see. The filming of it was pretty contentious. They had a lot of issues, so hopefully they're going to make it. The hype for it's pretty high, but hopefully they're going to figure out. Hopefully the movie's going to be okay. I don't know what they're going to do because Chadwick passed away, sadly. But hopefully they'll figure out something to make the show, to make the movie still have the flair it did before. But I don't know.
Is Shuri the Black Panther in this movie?
We don't know. It's all kind of, we don't know yet. But we do know in the comics, we do know that Shuri does become the Black Panther at some point.
Yeah.
But we don't know if she's going. I don't know. And the actress has some things going on. It's behind the scenes stuff that I don't know if it's personal issues, but she's hard to work with. Maybe I don't know, but we'll just have to wait and see. All right, and that is it for news we can abuse.
That's all the news.
That's it.
Next up, we're talking about Moon Knight.
Yeah, we are. Next, it's gonna be great.
I'm looking forward to that.
Me too.
Yeah, it's gonna be good
because I have no idea about Moon Knight stuff, so it's gonna be you guys. Mike, you will be able to talk about Moon Knight just as well as I can. Well, okay. As soon as I said that, I realized that probably would.
Yeah, it's probably not true. Although I do like the moon, so maybe I'll.
Okay, yeah, I could totally
moon
do
knowledge I can throw in there.
Yeah. Melissa, how could we find out more about your podcast? How can we learn more about your podcast?
You can check us out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all the places you find your podcasts. We're the SJW Comic Book Club. We are on Twitter and Instagram at SJW Comics Cast. So check us out. And we have short seasons, but we pick themes for seasons and we just talk about comics. And it's fun.
Super fun. And Mike, how can they find out about us?
We're everywhere you can find podcasts. We're on Twitter at Super Sideshow, and we have a thriving Reddit community. I'm told. Is that right? You got it. You got everything going last time.
It's so good.
You were watching basketball and fully building out the Reddit, right?
That's all I did all day yesterday.
Yeah,
but don't go to the Reddit page, Mike, just yet. Just wait. Just wait a while until you go.
Okay, so Reddit is still coming.
I'm not busy. I'm just interested in other things right now.
but we are on Twitter at Super Sideshow.
Yeah,
so you can hit us up there.
We are heavily active on Twitter.
Tell us what to talk about next.
Well,
we run polls on Twitter. Did you know that? We run polls on Twitter.
Yeah, but we're doing Moon Knight next.
We're doing Moon Knight next, but after that, we'll be like, what do we do? What do we do after Moon Knight? And the people that follow us on Twitter will be able to tell us what to do.
Right.
It's fun. You get to tell us what to do.